That's you here?
That's me on top of a ladder pod.
What are you doing there? What was that?
That is just a shot in the TV series Hinterland.
We have here one of the most important luminaries, this is my own opinion, Luke Jacobs, cinematographer or cameraman, cinematographical, photographer, who grew in Solva. And in Solva you have people like the footballer player, Simon Davis.
You played for Tottenham Hotspurs in Wales.
You have Mike Stephen, who is one of the most important folk singers in this country. And then you have David Gray.
And Raul Speek.
No, there are many. Okay, do you born in Solva?
No, I was born in Aberystwyth, but my parents
how long
moved to here when I was 4. So I kind of grew up here, which is kind of I think an amazing place to grow up, to be by the sea, to be in a small community. It just gave me such a grounding, really, to have a place like this.
That's fascinating because David Gray coming here sometime, and I found out that he also coming to live here when he was 4 years old.
Yeah.
And then it's very much have this kind of influence and creativity.
Okay. David Gray's music is amazing.
Yes, man, Buckley. Yeah. It's a park where I go sometimes, and it's a painting of yours of the old boy who is a fisherman. Yeah, can you talk about that a little bit more?
Really, the painting came from a project I was doing on. I wanted to go to film school, and in order to go to film school, I had to do a foundation course in art. So I went to Pembrokeshire College, do it there, and my teacher, Kath Brooks at the time, she encouraged me to do because she knew I wanted to go to film school, she encouraged me to make a film for every project we did on the course. And so I kind of decided on one of the projects about the sea that I'd do it about fishermen. So I met Dewi, he was in the pub, and he's a big drinker and a big character, and I met him one night and said, can I come and film with you tomorrow? And he said, no problem. See you down the quay at 6 o'clock or whatever. So I was down the quay, and then he didn't have a clue. He was like, what are you doing here? I'm like, you said I could come and film you. So I went out filming with him, and we spent the day, and he was just like pulling up his lobster pots and just throwing things out and putting things in things. It was just really charismatic, and he told me loads of stories, and it was brilliant. And then I did some paintings of him, sketches and painted from the video. So I played back the video, found some stills on it, and then painted the sketches from the stills. And that painting in the ship is one of the paintings I started on.
That's when I saw you for the first time some of your work.
It took me it took me outside of Pembrokeshire College to finish it, because it took forever. It was a long.
But your mother have a go. Some of the pot you have a go. You made a pot with your mother's a potter.
Yeah, I made some pots.
I can see them standing in the window.
But
very distinctive pot.
That picture was from that. From that period where I made the films and the things from him.
Yeah, because we began to be able to be advanced. Because you also, I found out that you make a painting when the football player Simon Davis.
Yeah, I did a painting for Simon after. It was after that picture.
But it was like a proper painting or whatever.
Yeah, he commissioned me to do a painting for it.
And then the idea is how that transition happened in between still imaging and motion picture. How that happened?
Yeah, I guess it was at that time I was still toying about whether I wanted to do painting or whether I wanted to do film, because originally I'd always wanted to do painting because I loved in art in school. That's where I excelled, and I wanted to be an art teacher and then a painter and things like that. But then doing that film with the fisherman it kind of opened my eyes up a little bit, because it wasn't, when you do painting, it can be quite a solitary thing. You kind of just do a painting, you sit at home and do it, and going out and making the film is kind of you're able to ask questions because you're making a film. Having a camera gives you like you are now. You can ask anything, and it wouldn't be. But if we were just sitting down and you started asking really personal questions like, Luke, tell me about that, I'd be like, you know. But like, because you got a camera, it's a license to do that. And so I realised that when I was making that film, that I'd known Dewi, I'd met Dewi and Glyn in Solva. I was like, what, 20? I don't know, 16, 17, maybe 18 when I was doing the film. But I'd known them all my life. I've been here, and I hadn't really had a proper conversation or knew much. But because I made that film with them, I was able to ask them. They told me loads of things about their lives, and it's fascinating.
And then that's mean because sometimes painting you can make a story in picture, but there are no motion picture, and then probably you, without knowing or unconscious, you knew that you're going to the storytelling or filmmaking, story filmmaking, cinematography, telling a story to the camera or to the motion picture. How, because you have to go after that. I remember that you go some award for film you had done. We spoke to the other one.
Yeah.
In the okay. How, when can you mention the part that I have gone here, which I want to ask you. For example, when I go to the piano and I want to play some piece of music, will be happy or sad, but immediately I put my hand on the piano, I will remember the style or different artists who I like, and my voice will try to imitate or incorporate or influence by people who I really love, who I do admire, maybe they be alive or dead. I could say, which one are the people you remember, movie makers in the history of filmmaking, that you remember that influencing you around that time?
Well, around that time, I wasn't really watching. For me, it wasn't filmmaking that took me to film school. It was I was just messing around making films with my friends, making sketches, and I wasn't really a film buff. My parents kind of didn't. We weren't allowed to have a VCR. Because they were like 15. They spent all day inside watching it. So I was out just playing in nature and doing drawings and things. So I wasn't very film literate at that stage. So it was more the process of making things, like having a camera.
I know go to the filmmaking school. How that happened?
I went to the filmmaking school because I made these little videos with my friends, these little sketches and things. And one of my friends, Johnny Davis, he said, have you ever looked at these short films made by this filmmaker called Justin Kerrigan? And those were made in Newport Film School. And he showed me them, and they were really funny. They were kind of like hilarious and really well made. And I was like, oh, wow, I'd love to make some things like that, because that's the sort of thing we were trying to make. And so he then, Justin Kerrigan, that director, then made Human Traffic. And it was sort of a big thing at that time. It was a Welsh director making this international film. And so I applied for Newport Film School thinking I could go, and I didn't really know what I wanted to make. I just wanted to go to film school because I liked having a camera and doing those things. And then they said, like I was saying, I needed to have done a foundation course in art before I went to film school. So that's when I went to Cambridge College, and so the influences were, I was really discovering how to make a film. I didn't really know the film, like I know the film language now. You shoot wide shot, you shoot mid shot, you close up, you have all that stuff. You don't cross the line. There's all these kind of rules and coverage. But I didn't know. I was just taking a camera and trying and then editing it and learning it all by myself. And so on that course was, like I said, I made 5 films in that 1 year.
Wow.
On that course, and one of them was the ones I was just saying about Fisherman, about Dewi, and the point, like that film was the one that got me excited about filmmaking, because through interviewing them and having that connection of this is a tool to enter people's lives, I realised that I can do this. I can go to other countries. I can I can travel the world. This is a tool to be able to do that, and therefore, after making that film, it got shown in the cinema. Local people from the village came to see it. They left. I gave a video, left it on their doorstep. So they left lobsters outside the house. Every time I went into the pub, they'd tell me stories. I realised this is like a social thing. This is kind of like a key into people's lives. It's
the cultural life. And
so when I went to film school, the film school saw that film and the other films I made, and they really wanted me to go. They accepted my application, and then when I was at film school, I learned about the kind of filmmakers like Tarkovsky and Polanski and the history of cinema, and then that was my induction into this is how you're supposed to do it. And so before that, it was I didn't really have a clue, to be honest.
We talk about the before sometime about the transition, because I know that you like the Kevin, the director who done Twin Town, and how you talk about the idea. I remember that it's a moment in your life where you decide to be or in front or the back of the camera. You remember how that happened?
I never really wanted to be in front of the camera, to be honest. But we would make our little sketches where I'd act in the sketches with my friends, and I was always very self-conscious, to be honest. So I much preferred being behind the camera. So it was never a decision, shall I be in front or behind. I wanted to be behind, but in order to make the sketches and be part of the laughter, I would be in front.
And I mean, how more por ciento, you can say in por ciento, will be in between making a story and taking pictures? How do you see? Do you see any difference between telling a story and making a picture? Because for me, because I'm still a painter.
Between photography and moving image, is that what you mean?
Yeah.
I think with the painting, actually, when I was doing the painting, it was quite interesting, because when I did that painting of Derry, in the pub, because it was from the video, a still from the video that I then painted, you kind of look through all the video to find the one frame that you feel symbolises that character's emotion, the thing, and everything that sums it up. So in some ways it's more of a concise thing with painting, because you're trying to do something. A film you could have to explore a whole half an hour about someone's life and go into it, and not everything has to sum up. So there is something quite finite and interesting about doing a painting of someone, because you're trying to evoke and capture the whole personality in one still image. But for me, filmmaking just gives you such a vast array, because you hear the person's voice, you go into their life, you can tell their story. With painting, you're projecting what you think that person is, and you're assuming a meaning that you don't necessarily know. Whereas filmmaking, there is vague parts of it, but often you're trying to tell a story as a beginning, a middle, and an end.
That's the part you're interested in, like more like a documentary story, a progression story, or about people's life. Not in Cuba or
I like
in Africa.
I like it all. Those are the ones. I remember we went to do this documentary in Ethiopia that was about this group of this tribe where they have these six. They have between this. It's like a coming of age kind of rites of passage, where they have children between the ages of 5 and 16. They travel 200 miles with 200 camels across these desolate, amazing rugged landscapes, and they have to live off the camel's milk for that whole period. And they were away from their parents for all this time, and they wear these white cloth clothes, and they've kind of got these amazing afros that they comb in certain ways, and we stayed with them, and we stayed out with the camels under the stars, and it's those sort of experiences like you could never do with another job, and it's a key to see this world, and that sort of thing fascinates me and is interesting to me. But at the same time, you do a commercial where you get to have a big techno crane, and you put the camera, and it moves around and it goes up and down and tracks around a car and you've got all these toys to play with and you've got underwater shots and you've got also like there's different things I enjoy about the different process, whether it's a commercial, a music video, or a documentary. There's certain things that's why I like is the variety with filmmaking that I really enjoy.
How do you see? Because sometimes we talking when you're talking about a cup of tea or something like that, about what you done, what you do. I always ask you how you doing, and you have some photograph. A lot of you still photograph. They even being still, they have got a percent or story making behind what's happening in the picture. That's well. That's being you constant go for the whole or the vernacular story, whatever you are to catch something. To regarding that idea, personally, I do believe it, and the reason who I'm excited to live in Pembrokeshire or in Wales is that there are so many stories, images for the Welsh culture that still have to be told. How maybe when you were talking about the fisherman, there's an amazing story about the Fogubla or any other story. Do you like maybe to come back sometime in the future or research something, or is there anything in Wales who still inspire you? And the same way you talk about those places, anything you would like to do?
I'd love to. The minute we're shooting a Visit Wales advert, and for me, I've done 3 of them so far, and just travelling around Wales and exploring places I've never been to is just fascinating, because you're shooting something that kind of welcomes people to come and explore Wales, and you haven't seen some of those places. And it makes me feel proud to be from Wales when I go and create these things that showcase it. And shooting Hinterland, being
Can we talk about we have a go?
Yeah, Hinterland was cool because it was shooting up near Aberystwyth where I was born, and it was.
Yes, of course, because the police station wasn't.
It was an amazing, time to go and just explore Wales and work with the Welsh.
Yes, you trip to come in like this, triple ladder. Can you talk about the picture?
Yeah, we were just we needed to get a high shot to feel like we were like looking down upon Richard and make him feel. It was at a point where he was quite low, like in this character. So